Hello, it's me, Tammy. And look at this. Ugh, I don't know if you can even see it, it's so bright. It is March, and I live in the desert. Again, yes, I live in Oregon, but it is the desert of Oregon. We don't normally get much snow at all, much less still have that much snow in March. And it's supposed to snow again this week, so that's exciting. All right, get out of that terrible lighting so you can actually see me again. Hello. I love how you guys can always see my coat rack that my husband built. Isn't that nice? Sit back and relax. So this is probably going to be a long one because I have a lot to cover today. Let's go ahead and get started with the meal prep for those of you that are just here for meal ideas, and then you can just skedaddle away. So let's see. It always takes me a minute to turn my camera around because I'm a noob. All right, so we have some different egg cups today. This is a recipe I found. I think it was Eat Well, but it comes in it makes it the eggs 3 different ways. So the recipe, and I worried about it making too much, which I mean, it didn't make too much, but it did make more than it said it would. Basically, I have found that when you do these egg cups, it's about, like if you want to do a dozen, it's usually 8 to 9 eggs at most. Usually 8 eggs will do a dozen egg cups. The recipe called for 12 eggs, said that it made 12 egg cups. It lied. But that's okay. So these are a little different. It came, like I said, with 3 different varieties. So all of it has salt, pepper, and onion in it. But then these ones also have bacon and cheddar. This one is spinach and Roma tomatoes and mozzarella cheese. And then there is another one that has mushrooms, fresh parsley, and bell peppers. So that's his recipe. And you'll notice there's only going to be 6 meal days worth of meal plans this week because he was off out in the world today. So I didn't meal prep. We had a day that he's going to be traveling. He went and visited our daughter for his birthday. Then we have his electrolyte drinks, same as usual. And then in here we have his vitamin supplements. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, I got this for him. It's called berberine. It's supposed to help with lowering blood glucose. And this particular supplement also has the chromium and the cinnamon in it, which also help lower blood glucose. But you do have to take this before every meal. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, why I added that to his supplement package. So one day this week, we're doing hamburgers. So I don't meal prep hamburgers. That'll actually be tomorrow's meal. I have the day off from both jobs. So I'm going to make some hamburgers and we'll do zucchini fries with those. So for lunch though, he'll have a steak salad. This is balsamic vinegar with, and I filled the balsamic vinegar to about right there, and then the rest with olive oil. And then it's just a half of a bag of premium romaine salad mix with some of these really yummy tomatoes. Oh, they're so good. And some Colby Jack. Then the next day, we've got some spaghetti, and this is still that spaghetti squash that I made like a month ago that I had frozen. So this looks frozen because I had froze it. So that makes sense, right? But it has his spaghetti sauce in here and then some fresh flaked Parmesan cheese. And it's apparently a Parmesan day. This is a chicken Italian salad. This is Primal Kitchen's Italian dressing, which if you haven't tried it, it's really good. I highly recommend that. It's super yummy. And I actually marinated the chicken in that and then pan fried it. So that's why the chicken looks so delicious. And then just olives, some more of that fresh Parmesan cheese, and some more of those tomatoes. And then over here, we have some of that chicken noodle soup. I made a new batch. This makes 4 servings, so 1 for each of us for 2 different weeks. So I put some in the freezer. So it's always nice to have a couple of things that you make through the week that you can actually stick in the freezer. And then we have our standbys. We have some tuna fish. This is actually homemade sunflower seed butter. salmon with roasted broccoli and some, I usually use a little bit of the mini bell peppers in there. The Italian meatballs that I make, it's just flaxseed meal, Italian seasoning and Parmesan seasoning, and it's the powdered Parmesan seasoning. And then I use my muffin scoop. It's like a 1/4 cup cookie scoop, or the large cookie scoop. And then I stuff 1/4 of a mozzarella string cheese in each one of them. So that's where that little mozzarella pieces come out. This is some G. Hughes barbecue sauce to go on that. And then in here, this is some Mexican squash that I sauteed up with onions and garlic. It's probably the closest thing to like old-fashioned hash browns, I think. Actually, it's got that same kind of flavor. This is another Eat Well recipe that my daughter actually posted on Instagram this week. That it wasn't completely keto, but there was only a couple things to change out, like the cornstarch. I feel like there was one other thing that I had to switch out to, but other than that, it was already pretty well keto. It's really good. It's got really good flavor. I use xanthan gum in exchange for the cornstarch, by the way. And if you go look up that recipe, it's Eat Well spinach or asparagus chicken stir fry, and I used 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum in place of the cornstarch. Some chili, which you guys know. So this is another one of those things that makes 4 servings. 2 large servings for my husband and 2 small servings for me. And so I put those in the freezer, and we can have those next week. His cheese. And then it's kind of the same thing, salmon, broccoli, and then the meatballs, but this time we did a cucumber. I did not cut it up because this is the last meal of the week, and if I cut this up, it's gonna just be gross. So I'll actually just pack him a peeler in his lunchbox so that he can cut that up on that day. Okay, so you may or may not notice that he does have a little bit more veggies in his food this week than he has typically been having, and not because I'm against veggies, but because he tends to be a little bit more carb sensitive than I am. I can eat a lot of vegetables and it doesn't make me feel weird, it doesn't make me tired, and it doesn't affect my blood sugar. He does not have that. However, I didn't make him, I guess. I just told him that I thought he should do keto for a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks and then make a decision on how he feels. And it's, as you can see, his food hasn't changed that much other than we added a little bit more vegetables. But you may be guessing from this that he has decided to go kind of off keto, but not like blazing glory. He was doing paleo before, and honestly, as you can see, because I cook keto, most of his meals are keto already. The only difference is his snacks. So he is a snacker. And part of the reason for that is that he just kind of has a small stomach. Like, he will have a hard time eating most of these meals, and he'll tell me that. He doesn't eat a lot in one sitting. So that means he wants to eat more often because he works hard. Especially lately, he's been having to shovel all this stuff at work because he has to maintain 3 different facilities for his job. And they're not small facilities, they're pretty large. So that requires a lot of energy. But anyway, so he kind of gets snacky. And he did notice that while he was on keto, he had 0 joint pain at all. Like his knee that he's had problems with for a few years. And one of the reasons why we actually went paleo to begin with was to try to help reduce some inflammation. He hasn't had any knee pain, so that's gone away. He did get completely fat adapted. We got his blood glucose down, his fasting glucose down below 100. Probably, well, the longest stretch was a 4-day stretch. And then, but we probably hit it, I would say 10 or 11 times in the past 8 weeks. So not consistently. And so one of the things that we have started to implement was, really forcing him to fast at least 12 hours. I'm like, which isn't a lot, right? I mean, for some of us that have been doing keto for a long time. But for him, it's hard because he's kind of a late night snacker. And so telling him, hey, you need to stop eating by 7 p.m. Like I said, when you have a hard time eating a large meal for dinner, it's tough for him because he'll eat and he'll be full. And then, of course, 2-3 hours later, he's like, oh, I kind of want to eat something. And I'm like, well, it's like 8 o'clock, so no. So that's not fun for him. The other thing is he has not managed his keto himself. I have managed it completely, which means I have been the one tracking his carbs because he doesn't do it. And honey, I know you're going to watch this and I love you, but I can't just continue to be his carb mommy. And, because he doesn't, even when I was writing his carbs on his food, even though I have all of this set up and it's literally just grab and go and eat it, he doesn't know what he can have for snacks because he doesn't know how many carbs he's had that day. And it's just not his thing. He's never been a dieter. So I think it's just a really weird thought process to kind of jump into. He's never counted calories ever in his life. Can you imagine that? I can't even fathom what that must feel like. So he has a very healthy relationship with food. Once we switched his diet, he just naturally lost the weight because he has good signals of when he's full and when he's hungry. He does kind of like to snack a little bit more, but that's about it. So long story short, he'll still be eating keto food. More than likely, he probably will go in and out of ketosis, just depending on that day and how much he eats of the other stuff. And I did tell him, quite frankly, that I was not going to continue to make any of the paleo desserts that have honey or maple syrup or any of that stuff in it because I don't think it's good for him. He didn't notice the mental clarity that we were hoping for. I did. I noticed it in him. I noticed that he wasn't as forgetful. So we're hoping that doesn't return. So, and I told him if I notice deterioration, we'll probably have another discussion. But he's got to own that. He's got to make those decisions. And he eats well. So, you saw what he eats for the week. I just can't see him being unhealthy eating that kind of food. So he should be fine. He just probably won't be in ketosis necessarily all the time. He has his coconut fat bombs that he eats. They don't have any sweetener in them. They're literally just shredded coconut that I roast. And then, because that's how you can make coconut butter with them. And then I add 100, it's about 2 pounds of shredded coconut. It makes a really big batch. It makes about 48 of these fat bombs. So I do about 2 pounds of shredded coconut and then 100 grams of melted cacao butter. So and that's all there is. That's all that's in it. So it's really good for you, honestly. And then I bagged him some pecans with a little bit of not sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, actually, this time, just to help him get some more zinc and nutrients. So that is why we added the berberine chromium pill to his daily supplements, because I'm hoping that's what's going to push that blood glucose number down and keep it down. Because he does notice when he has a salad, for example, or like the days he has chili, any of those days that he does have those higher carb meals in one sitting, he does notice that he gets tired. So I'm hoping that's going to help counteract that, because that's really all we need to do. If we can get that blood glucose down, then he doesn't need to necessarily be keto. I don't think. I think I could be wrong though, right? Could be wrong. More research later. Hi, Nona Grace. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. So that's kind of what's going on with him. The other thing I was going to go into, it was in the title of there, is that basically, long story short, or actually short story long, I should say, back in November, I'm good. Back in November, I was trying to tweak some things. I wanted to see if I had allergies to dairy. So I decided in December, or actually right after Thanksgiving, so the Monday after Thanksgiving, which was still November, I don't remember what date that was. I did the no nuts, no dairy for 30 days, and then a week later I did no nuts for 30 days, and then I cut out sweetener. Well, I've talked to you guys about before that I've had a food addiction, and so whenever I restrict really like that, especially dairy, I love dairy, right? I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I supplement with that then basically. So I got coconut cream and it was really good, but I really allowed myself to snack and eat a lot more to make up for, so I wouldn't think that I was missing out on the nuts and the dairy, and it did its job. Then I started slowly adding the things back in January. I didn't really notice much of a difference as far as how I felt, but I did put on weight. Like I said, I put on about 5 pounds in December, and it kept it, went back and forth between about 159 and 164 probably. And then I did something else. I can't remember what it was, but I was trying out something else, and so I was still like, oh, it was with my adrenals. So then they were like, oh, you got to eat 3 meals a day to help your adrenals, and I was like, okay, that sounds not great because I've always done 2 meals a day, and now keep in mind I'm starting to snack. So I was having breakfast, and then chocolate and pecans, and then lunch, and then a dinner. So I was actually eating 4 times a day, which I don't know why that didn't. Plus, I was having my coffee with cream again. So that's almost like 5 meals, honestly. So I've been slowly trying to figure that out. Well, last week I got all the way back up to 169 pounds, and I about cried. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going up. I keep going up. Is it my thyroid medication? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? The only way to make sure to find out if it's my thyroid medication or if my metabolism has just stopped is I have to cut all the snacks. In the meanwhile, I also had diagnosed a physical ailment that I'm not going to go into here that has made it so that I can't exercise like I once did. I can't I can't do a lot of standing exercises, which is terrible because I really like them. I like dance, I like Zumba, I like deadlifts, I like HIIT and all those things, but I can't do those right now. So, in addition to me in slowly increasing my food intake, I was also slowly decreasing my activity level as far as how hard I was able to push myself. Because it's really hard to push yourself when you're on the floor. Not impossible, but it's really hard, and it's really hard for me to get motivated to do it because they're such boring exercises. But I am forcing myself to do them. So anyway, so that was Wednesday when I weighed 169. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I can't. Literally, I'm going to go back to 2 meals a day. I don't really care. There's no way. I obviously do not need this much food because, I just don't see it. And I'm taking an adrenal supplement. So I eat really good. I don't feel like I need that extra meal. And I literally lost a pound every day since then. So, and I even started my period today. So even with that, I didn't gain usually out. So I probably actually lost even more than that. I just had to stop the snacking. So I think that whole, like, I was probably eating a lot more extra calories and wasn't counting them. I don't track, as you guys know, because tracking just triggers issues with me. So I don't track. I become obsessed with food. But if I don't track and I just eat a good meal, then I'm not thinking about, oh, what am I going to eat next and blah, blah, blah. So I just balance my plate with my veggies, my non-starchy veggies and whatnot. And that's how I eating. But so yeah, I think the snacking and the extra meal just was, and in combination with the lower activity, but definitely was causing me to put that weight back on. So I'm really hoping that I got that back under control. I can get back into the 150s. And I also think I finally have a routine down that is safe for my physical health and isn't as boring, but it's definitely not as hard. So I'm doing 25 girl push-ups. I'm doing a plank for 25 seconds, not the plank like you do, Nona, because I'm not allowed to do that. I can't do any kinds of crunches or anything that pushes on makes my ab pinch at all, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway. So I can't do any of those. And then I do the tricep dips elevated where, you put yourself up on a chair. I use one of our end tables, and then you use your arms to lift yourself up and down. I do bridges with 20-pound weight, and let's see, girl push-ups, tricep dips, plank, bridges. Oh, what's the other one I do? I can't remember it off the top of my head. So anyway, I'm sorry told you guys this was going to be a longer video because I had a lot to cover and a lot to say. And yes, I have not forgotten about needing to do the dance video. I'm so sorry. It's so bad. But like I said, I have to set up my camera to do that because I'm not going to do it live. And yeah. So, and plus, like I said, I can't do a lot of physical things. So it won't be very long. It'll definitely be a very short dance with that. And I'm hoping that the snow goes away sooner than is forecasted because I'm not sure I can handle another 2 weeks of snow. All right. That kind of catches you guys up on what's going on with Danny, meal prepping, my adrenal fatigue issue, weight gain. Try not to snack. It's the killer, man. It sneaks up on you. And I'm excited to be slimmer by the summer. We are going to Europe this summer with my dad. We've never traveled across the ocean before, as ever. None of us in our family. My dad has, but not in me, my husband, or my kids. So I'm super excited about that. And I definitely want to look the best I can look in the body that I have. So yeah, floor exercises are super boring. They're so boring. I know they're good for you, and they can get the job done, right? They can still, because I want to make sure I don't lose my arm strength, but they're just boring. But anyway,